The last thing I just want to touch on real quick. I don't know if you really went into kind of day to day, what it's like. I'm sure you've had other guests on here that kind of talk more day to day. The one big concern that I had when I first got into medical, or at least when I was looking to get into medical devices, I didn't want to have a job where it was like a 9 to 5.
Yep.
I had a job right when I got out of college. I was working for Wells Fargo Financial, and it was a Monday through Friday, and it was from 9 to 6. And then Friday you got out at like 5 or something like that. But you were in the office. You had to at noon you had a break for an hour, and you had to clock back in. And it was one of those things where I did that for 6 months right out of college, and I was just like, I can't do this. Like, it was miserable. Like, you lived for the weekends, and you dreaded on Sunday night what Monday was going to be. So then I ended up leaving that job, and I was a financial advisor, which the way my position was, it was far more flexible than that.
Yep.
It kind of taught me that autonomy of running your own business. Because really, as a financial advisor, it's the same concept, just a different modality. The more money you bring in, assets under management, the more money you're going to make and whatnot. So it's a big time sales position, but you're not necessarily always in an office. Like, you're having to network and do different things. Having a gym, same thing. You're out and about, you're meeting people, you're trying to bring new people in, you're in a gym, you're seeing people on a daily basis, very relationship business. So the nice thing about medical device is that you have the ability to kind of go different places. Like, you're going to different hospitals. So you're not confined to a desk. Now, for me, the way that my job is structured, usually we find out our cases are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the following week. So then I'm able to see on my calendar what everything looks like for the next week. So then that allows us to prepare of how we need to get everything. So like a logistics thing, how can we get everything to where it needs to be? So we'll have to communicate together as a team, like, hey, this guy's got 2 surgeries up here. We got to make sure that this stuff is there. Where are they right now? Let's grab them, move them, because you're moving what are called trays. And these trays have all your instruments that have to go through sterile processing. They got to get wrapped. They got to get used. Once they're done, they got to get cleaned and washed.
And if they're not in there, like if it wasn't in there, and you go into the surgery, you can't just go grab one and do it.
Correct. So yes, that brings a point. Like, a lot of the stuff that when I check something in, I'm taking pictures of everything for my own. At 8 o'clock at night, want to make sure that the screwdriver's in there with the right screws. Got a picture. I feel comfortable. I can go to bed. Then you got to rely on the hospital, obviously, being able to not lose that or anything like that. But it gets sterilized, gets wrapped. You get to the hospital, open it all up, get everything on the mail stand. They use it, and they got to obviously, clean it, make sure that it's all no blood, no anything like that. They clean that. Then you got to go grab everything
and make sure it's still in there.
It's all there, to make sure that they didn't put any of the, once again, the drivers or the screws somewhere else, or if the hospital took them,
which does happen, just so you know.
Often. That's why you take pictures, because then you can say, this is everything that was checked in. I want to make sure that it's all looking the same when you bring it up. You take it, then he might be at one hospital for that day. Now we got to take it to another hospital because you have X amount of trays in your possession, and these hospitals don't hold your trays. The majority of them don't. Certain ones they're not going to. So you're constantly having to run trays. So a lot of the job is very logistical. You're moving around to different hospitals, checking different things in, using it for the cases, making sure that everything's back to where it is, and then taking it to the next place. So you're out and about, which to me is actually important. So some people that might not be that big of a deal, but it is nice to where I can drive and I can grab lunch, or I can stop at home. I can do different things. Like, there's, for the most part, there's not this super time crunch. Now, obviously, there might be if you got to turn something the next day, or if there's certain things, but there's a little bit of flexibility in that. And then we make sure everything pretty much for the next week is all set. Now, sometimes it can't be for the later part of the week, but for the most part, you can get Monday, Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday set the way that it needs to be. And then on Monday and Tuesday, you can kind of make sure you can finish off the week on whatever, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So part of the job, part of the job is logistical. Then the other part is spending the time in the OR. To be completely truthful, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. You might have a case that's at 7 o'clock in the morning. You get to the hospital at 6:15, 6:30. You go in, you make sure that your stuff's all set up, but the patient might be delayed, or something might be going on where they, are late, or the surgeon comes a little bit late. So your case might not start till 8 o'clock. So you got there at 6:15, you did your part for 5 minutes, and now you're just sitting at the hospital. So then you do your case. It could go, let's just say it's supposed to be an hour. It could go an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes because something took longer. Or they're having issues in the surgery. Then they got to basically, as soon as they close up the wound and get done what they need to, they got to take the patient out and they got to, disinfect the room, clean the room. And then you got to prep because you got the next case. So if you have the second case, you got to make sure your trays are there, make sure everything's set up, and then you have to wait again. So your days now, a surgery might be at 7 o'clock and it might be at 9:30, but now all of a sudden it's 11:15 and you haven't started your second case. So your days, you can see how they can start to get later and later. You might have a case that's at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I can already tell you if that's the case, you can probably plan on it being a little bit later because there's other doctors that are earlier that are now pushing that back. So you might have a case that doesn't get done till 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. It just depends. So it's, a lot of it is an organizational thing. And when we talk about being competent and being, a quick learner and I don't want to say like a yes man, but like being like, yep, we got to get this done. We got to like working as a team. Like you're going to have those interactions where it's like, oh shit, we don't have this tray. Dave, we need you to run this quick because that has to be there for his surgery. And then you go run that. And then there might be another time where I'm saying like, oh crap, man, we didn't have this. I need you to go grab this because I'm in cases all day. You know what I'm 100%. Saying? So there has to be like this teamwork of, getting things done and working together. That's when we stress, being a part of a team and being a learner. So I do think sports can play a role because you've had to do teamwork
100%
to be successful. And being responsible then with all that. And then that shows, if all your stuff is there and everything's clean and you're there early and you're getting stuff done and the surgeries go well, the doctors will start to recognize that and they'll feel comfortable with you're in the room, what you're doing and all that kind of stuff. So that's really kind of the day-to-day aspect of it. A lot of it is running trays, making sure everything's legit and set up. And then a lot of it is the case coverage and being with the doctors and the nurses and stuff. So
I love that, man. That's so good. And thanks for going into detail because we really haven't someone go into that deep of detail of like, like
so
you said.
With that said, that's my situation.
100%.
Someone else, that you might have, ask them a question. It might be something completely different. Some people might not like having to drive around all the time and doing, dealing with hospitals. Hospitals aren't the easiest to work with, especially checking things in. There's always a process. Every hospital has different processes. It can be one of those things where it's very just kind of monotonous and boring and all that. But trust me, I don't mind driving, listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, calling my parents or whoever, getting in the hospital, making sure everything's good. And then going on and doing the next thing, because I have been in the 9 to 6 grind where you're sitting in an office and it's 1 o'clock and you look at the clock and you got another 5 hours and it goes slow. So that's just my experience from it. I think everyone's got different experiences in what their day-to-day is like. But for the most part, when you're breaking in, you're running a lot of trays. And that's what we mean by that is you're going from hospital to hospital, checking things in, making sure things are accurate so that when the case happens, everything's there. So,
man, that's awesome. Dave, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. I appreciate you. And if you guys haven't, if you're watching, please press that like and subscribe button. It helps us get out to more people just to help them. And if you're listening on the podcast, please rate us a 5-star and make a comment. Again, just trying to help as many people as we can. And then also, like I told you guys, have a big surprise coming. I've heard everybody they want help. I may put a product together. I'm just waiting for the final things and hopefully should have something out here for you guys that can help you guys break in. So thanks for everybody who's listening and I hope you guys have a great week.